A probe into the recent Osong underpass flooding that killed 14 people in South Korea concludes that poor construction nearby and lack of thorough oversight were to blame. 18 more related officials will be investigated. North Korea showcases new drones, ICBMs, and nuclear torpedoes during its overnight military parade on what it claims as Victory Day, having invited Chinese and Russian delegations. Industrial output, spending, and investment were all up in June amid the country trying to rev up the economy in the second half. It's July 28, 2023. This is News Center. Good evening. Thank you for joining us. I'm Yoon Jung-min. We begin this evening with the probe result of the recent flooding at a local underpass that took the lives of 14 people in Korea. The investigation blames poor management and oversight as more related officials are set to be investigated. In the meantime, the ruling People Power Party and the government agreed upon more help for farmers for restoration. Kim Do-yeon has the details.
The South Korean government is referring a total of 36 people to the nation's investigative body following a 10-day inspection into the deadly underpass flooding in Osong, Dokdo province, which led to 14 deaths on July 15th. The announcement came on Friday as it looked into the cause of the incident and who's responsible.
Despite receiving numerous warnings and police reports, including heavy rain and flood alerts, the related agencies responsible for the underground passage and the nearby river failed to recognize the seriousness of the situation and respond in time, leading to what happened, as revealed by the investigation.
The underground road in Cheongju was flooded after an embankment collapsed as a result of rising water levels amid torrential downpours earlier this month, with several vehicles stuck in, including a bus. The Office of Government Policy Coordination also added an unauthorized removal of the existing embankment below a bridge nearby and a weak temporary embankment, along with the failure to properly monitor and supervise it, were also contributing factors to the incident. Among the dozens referred for investigation are people from multiple government sectors, including Chungcheongbuk-do province and Cheongju city governments. In addition, the government will recommend that 63 public servants across 5 different government agencies will be punished internally. In the meantime, the ruling People Power Party and the Yoon administration discussed ways to recover from the recent flood damage. Attended by the leadership of PPP and Prime Minister Han Duck-soo, among others, the meeting focused primarily on recovering the nation's agriculture businesses as days of rain and flooding have resulted in widespread agricultural damage. They agreed to increase support funds to ensure substantial assistance to farmers affected by disasters, considering that the current recovery funds provided are not sufficient. The specific amounts of support for each sector will be announced by the central headquarters next week. Kim Do-yeon, Arirang News.
As widely expected, North Korea held a military parade overnight showcasing drones and ICBMs in the presence of Chinese and Russian delegations, marking the 70th anniversary of the Korean War Armistice. Lee Dong Kwan has more.
North Korea staged a huge military parade on Thursday night as widely expected to mark the 70th anniversary of the armistice that ended the Korean War, or what the North calls Victory Day. The opening ceremony for the event started at around 8 p.m., followed by the parade, which went on for about 2 hours. North Korean leader Kim Jong-un and government delegations from China and Russia who had come to Pyongyang this week also attended the parade. This appears to show that the North is backed by the 2 neighboring countries. One expert also says the delegation taking part in the event likely means the North's COVID-19 lockdown is coming to an end.
The North Korean regime is moving inch closer to actual opening of the national borders, which means that the resumption of trade with China in full scale in coming days.
The North Korean Central News Agency earlier on Friday reported that the latest unmanned aerial vehicles and the intercontinental ballistic missiles were rolled out during the event. The multi-purpose aerial vehicles and unmanned strategic reconnaissance aircraft that were demonstrated had been on display at a weapon exhibition that Russian Defense Minister Sergei Shoigu and Kim Jong-un had visited earlier on Thursday. ICBMs, including the Hwasong 18 and Hwasong 17, topped off the parade. Other than unmanned aerial vehicles, no other new weapons were introduced. The North Korean leader appears to have not made a speech this time. Instead, the North's defense minister did so. The minister warned about nuclear war during his speech, saying that it's a matter of who, when, and how will the war happen on the Korean peninsula rather than whether it will happen or not.
We are ready. It's for the enemies to decide. We will defend our country from any more danger, no matter the cost.
Meanwhile, Russian President Vladimir Putin delivered a message to the North Korean leader on Thursday. The message included Putin's gratitude towards Kim for North Korea's support of Moscow's special military operation in Ukraine, saying that this shows their, quote, shared commitment and resolve to counter the collective West in its policy. Putin's message also said their history of bilateral ties had led to a stronger economic and security relationship. Lee Dong Kwan, Arirang News.
On the economic front, findings for the month of June show some improvements in industrial output, facility investment, and private spending for the second month in a row. Our Moon Hae-ryun has the details.
South Korea's overall industrial production, spending, and investments all rose for the second month in a row. According to Statistics Korea on Friday, industrial production in June rose by 0.1% from May. It's a smaller increase on month than what was recorded in May at 1.3% due to a decline in the mining, manufacturing, and gas and electricity sectors, but a rise in production in the service sector pushed production levels up overall. There was also increased output in the semiconductor industry, which slowed the decline, tallying up to a rise of 3.6% on month. By quarter, semiconductor production rose by over 20% in comparison to the previous quarter for the first time since Q1 of last year. To support this rise in production, outbound shipments of chips also rose by over 41% on month, bringing the total value of chip exports to the highest so far this year at nearly $9 billion. South Korea has been suffering from sluggish IT exports for a while, logging consecutive on-year declines for nearly a year. But this rise in exports has led to the greatest on-month fall in chip inventory numbers since data was first compiled in 1975, falling by over 6%.
A key takeaway from this month's data is that while the rise in manufacturing production was lower than the 3% increase last month, inventory levels fell by 6.2% on the back of significant increases in exports for 2 consecutive months.
As for retail sales, a key measure of private spending, the country saw a 1% rise compared to May. While sales in non-durable and semi-durable goods fell, a rise in auto sales contributed to the overall rise. Facility investment also saw a rise of 0.2% due to large investments in the automobile sector. Economic recovery still remains modest due to these figures showing weak growth, but the economic slowdown is showing signs of alleviating in the second half of the year. The central bank announced earlier this week that the real gross domestic product value, a key gauge of economic growth, increased 0.6% on quarter during the April to June period. Moon Hae-ryun, Arirang News.
Following the unveiling of its latest Galaxy Z Flip 5 and Z Fold, Samsung Electronics plans to make foldable phones its mainstream product, with the goal of raising sales of these to over 20% for its premium phone lineup. Our business correspondent Shin Ha-young reports.
Roughly 2 years remain for Samsung Electronics to achieve the goal it announced last year, which is to have foldable phones account for more than half of its total premium smartphone shipments by 2025. To accomplish this, raising the popularity of the recently unveiled 5th generation Galaxy foldable phones is crucial. During a press conference held in Seoul on Friday, Samsung's mobile chief expressed confidence in its foldable products.
Samsung's foldable products are expected to surpass 30 million in cumulative global sales in 2023, marking a crucial tipping point for the foldable sector this year.
He added that the company will raise global foldable sales to more than 20% of its premium phone lineup this year. The plan comes amid a rising global market for premium smartphones or those with a wholesale price of $600 or more. According to technology market research firm Counterpoint Research, the share of premium smartphones among total smartphone sales increased from 27% in 2017 to 55% last year. Samsung is currently at the top in terms of global smartphone market share. But it's a different story when it comes to the premium smartphone market, as Apple dominates with a 75% share. To have a stronger presence on the market, Samsung's strategy focuses on bringing folding smartphones into the mainstream by expanding its Galaxy ecosystem.
Our top priority is to make foldable devices go mainstream. Once we achieve that, various achievements, including financial results, are likely to follow.
One expert says the Korean tech giant is on the right track to gain ground in the premium phone market.
A better premium phone convinces consumers that it's worth the extra cost due to subtle differences in the experience. Samsung these days is prioritizing enhancing the user experience over high-tech features in its phone design. Creating an experience is actually what Apple is really good at, and this shift puts Samsung in a position to rival Apple's brand power.
The industry's focus is now on Apple. As the new iPhone series is expected to be unveiled in the latter half of the year, competition between the two tech giants is expected to intensify. 신하영, Arirang News.
President Yoon Suk-yeol has tapped his advisor for external affairs, Lee Dong Kwan, as chairman of the Korea Communications Commission. Lee on Friday pledged to make Korea a leading player in the global media industry should he be appointed. He also vowed to fight fake news and ensure reliable public broadcasting. His nomination has sparked an uproar from the main opposition Democratic Party, whose members accuse Lee of an earlier media crackdown and his son of school bullying. Lee previously served as a spokesperson and a senior secretary for public relations under the Lee Myung-bak administration. Seoul's foreign ministry called in a senior Japanese diplomat on this Friday morning to protest Tokyo's renewed claim over Dokdo in its latest annual defense white paper. Director General for Asia and Pacific Affairs Seo Min-jung summoned acting deputy chief of mission at the Japanese embassy here in Seoul, Mondo Yamamoto. The ministry also shared a statement that condemned Japan's unjust claims over Korea's Dokdo Island, pointing out that such unwarranted assertions hinder efforts to promote a future-oriented relationship between the two countries. Japan has been falsely laying claim over South Korea's Dokdo for the past 19 years. As South Korea marks the 70th anniversary of the Korean War ceasefire this week, our defense correspondent Choi Min-jung sat down with the nation's Veterans Minister Bang Min-sik, who echoed words of gratitude to all those who fought for freedom for this country.
A big week for South Korea as it marked the 70th anniversary of the Korean War Armistice. Speaking to Arirang News, the Minister of Patriots and Veterans Affairs Bang Min-sik highlighted the progress South Korea has been able to make thanks to the dedication of foreign veterans.
Wasn't it just ruins during the war? South Korea was able to overcome the ruins and make truly amazing progress. We want to repay our greatest gratitude to the veterans through our success.
Delegations from 22 countries, including 64 Korean War veterans, visited South Korea's port city of Busan to take part in various events. Minister Park explained there is a special reason behind Busan being the host city this year.
Busan was the wartime capital, and it was also the place where war veterans from 22 nations first arrived in this unknown country at the time. It's also very symbolic, as about 2,300 UN veterans are still buried in Busan.
With ongoing threats to global security, the minister also stressed that the Korean War delivers an important message to the international community.
For example, Russia is invading Ukraine. Even there, many government representatives, including our president, are really emphasizing the spirit of solidarity for freedom. The Korean War and the 70th anniversary are evidence that such efforts are not just words, but they have been put into action.
Park also underlined that Veterans Affairs and national defense come together, considering the fact that North Korea continues to threaten the South and the international community through its continuous provocations. The minister also told Arirang News that he feels regretful when it comes to the limited significance our society puts on Veterans Affairs today.
When it comes to veterans, people would reluctantly bow their heads to show respect. But our country isn't doing things properly if we aren't properly honoring those who sacrifice for our country. It is not just the past, but it's the future. It's the practical foundation for the prosperity of South Korea.
To show the further appreciation South Korea has toward all those who gave a helping hand, the minister vowed to create a culture where Korean people can naturally feel the importance of Veterans Affairs.
우리 참전 용사분들의 70년 전의 위대한 희생과 헌신에 대해서 우리 대한민국 국민들 아직도 또 앞으로도 영원히 진심으로 감사를 드립니다.
최민정, 아리랑 뉴스, 부산.
It is time for our weekly arts and culture segment. That means we have our culture correspondent Song Yujin back in the studio with us. Great to see you, Yujin.
Happy to be back, Jungmin.
What do you have for us today?
Well, Jungmin, let me ask you this. Do you know who Miss Fu of Yongin City or Princess Fu is?
You know, I have heard a lot recently, but tell us more.
Well, interestingly, that's the nickname that refers to Fubao, who is the 3-year-old giant panda that's currently living in Everland, South Korea's largest amusement park. And what makes Fubao really special is that she is the very first giant panda to be born in Korea through natural pregnancy. And over the past few years, Fubao has sort of become a celebrity, not only here in Korea, but around the world, as people have watched videos of her on YouTube ever since she was born. But Fubao isn't just an adorable panda. She is actually part of the Chinese government's efforts to foster friendly relations with other countries through pandas. So for this week, I looked into what Beijing's panda diplomacy is. Black eyes and ears surrounded by a white coat of fur. Fubao, the giant panda, has captured the hearts of people in Korea. It's a regular weekday morning, but minutes after Everland opens its gates, it's packed with people.
When I watch videos of Fubao, she's absolutely adorable and charming.
I feel a deeper affection for her because she's the first panda ever to be born in Korea.
This year, the craze around this 3-year-old panda reached new heights when her zookeeper revealed in May that she'll have to move to China next year. After the news, the average number of daily visitors to Everland during the last week of May rose 20% when compared to the first week. For Fubao's zookeeper tryout program, more than 13,000 people applied for 3 available spots. But why does Fubao have to go to China? That's because all pandas and their offspring legally belong to Beijing. China has been long using pandas as a diplomatic tool.
Panda diplomacy began in 1972 when then Chinese President Mao Zedong gifted 2 pandas to the U.S. after President Nixon's visit to Beijing. Their cuteness sparked a worldwide demand, promoting China to loan pandas to other countries as a way to foster friendly relations.
Current Chinese President Xi Jinping sent Fubao's parents, Aibao and Lebao, to Korea in 2016 when bilateral ties were relatively stable. With the recent strain in relations, some wonder whether Fubao could come to the rescue. China's ambassador to Korea, Xing Haiming, visited Everland and presented a thank you plaque on Fubao's 3rd birthday. This was after his previous controversial remarks about China's rivalry with the U.S., which seemingly targeted the Korean government.
Koreans' affection towards pandas can positively influence their perception of China. Everland's panda videos are going viral on Chinese social media platforms. This could lead to new civilian exchanges and public diplomacy programs, ultimately influencing political and diplomatic relations too.
With negotiations for Fubao's return set to start next month, All eyes are on what decision will be made and how that'll affect Seoul-Beijing ties.
You know, panda diplomacy, that's interesting.
Right.
And people are just captivated by Fubao. She's a celebrity.
She really is, Chongmin. So I knew that Fubao was really famous, but I didn't know how much big of a star she was until I actually saw it myself. And what really caught my attention was at Everland, there were several people who were holding top-notch cameras, not only smartphones, to take pictures of Fubaos. These are cameras that usually passionate K-pop fans use to take photos of their stars. And it turns out that some of them visit Everland almost every single day just to take a look at Fubao and also take her pictures. And Fubao's popularity can also be seen in merchandise sales as well. So this cute little panda doll that I brought, I actually bought it from Everland yesterday when I was there to cover the story. So when I was at the gift shop, I could actually see the staff continuously restocking panda stuff to keep up with demand. And for example, this stuffed toy, it practically sold out within just few hours after the store opened.
And Eugene, as you mentioned, there will be negotiations next month to take Fubao to China. What's going to happen?
Well, as many of Koreans really want Fubao to stay, unfortunately, experts that I talked to said that chances are very high that Fubao will return to Korea. And the reason is because the leasing contract of Fubao's parents states that their offspring must return to China before they reach 4 years old. That's because that's the typical age when most pandas reach maturity. So if this contract is stuck to then, Fubao will move back to China next year. And her twin sisters, who were born 3 weeks ago, will also follow in 2027. And as for their parents, Lobao and Aibao, they're currently on a 15-year lease, so they'll be staying in Korea until 2031. However, I want to point out that some experts, they speculate that there's still a glimmer of hope for that Fubao's return date will be pushed back, as Beijing might really see panda diplomacy as a good opportunity to improve strained Seoul-Beijing ties.
Right, we will have to wait and see. And I want to get one myself.
You should buy one.
Thanks, Eugene.
Thank you.
Blistering heat is forecast to remain in place for this weekend, along with occasional showers. While lows in the capital will start off at 26 degrees Celsius. Daytime conditions will be sweltering at 33 to 34 degrees. With high moisture levels in the air, temperatures will feel hotter than the actual readings. Under such extreme heat, the risk of heat-related illnesses remains high. Children and seniors are urged to use extra caution. Scattered outbreaks of rainfall will be seen for inland regions. The amount of rainfall will vary depending on the region. Overall, inland areas will see about 5 to 40 millimeters. In the meantime, UV ray index will be extremely high for the entire weekend. Most regions will see UV ray index in the very high range for both Saturday and Sunday. To avoid any skin aggravation, make sure to wear plenty of sunblock when heading out and try to stay indoors. Morning temperatures in Seoul will start off at 26 degrees, Daejeon and Gwangju at 25 degrees. Highs in Seoul will get up to 34, Daegu 35, Gyeongju will be hot at 36 degrees. No rain is in the forecast for next week, but sweltering conditions will continue to prevail. That's all for now, and here are the weather conditions around the world.
That is News Center for tonight. Thanks for watching. A panel session coming up.